Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this week's new episode of Xbox Lunch Break Special. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. And ladies and gentlemen, my God, talk about a weekend of weekends. We have a lot to get into. Man, Sony keeps stepping on those rakes there, Crazy Lou Gaming. It is a yard full of rakes, and they keep getting hit in the face, in the back, in the side. I don't know what's happening. We're going to be talking about a couple of massive topics, one of which set the interwebs on fire, and that is the remaster of Horizon Zero Dawn that was announced. Well, it wasn't announced officially, but it did. The information was released via numerous publications, which we will get into. We're also going to be talking about Jim Ryan. Guess what, folks? He went to the EU in Brussels to basically talk about his concerns. Once again, Jim Ryan going out there trying to do everything in his power to stop this deal. And I'm going to be honest with you, folks. We're going to break down why. I don't think it's going to happen. I think there's going to be some sort of a consent decree added. And if Sony does get that, it will be a win. The question is, what decree is Microsoft willing to sign? Like, what are they actually looking to do in regards to making Call of Duty, permanently stay on PlayStation? Is it a time thing? Is it going to be re-upped every 3 years? But listen, before we get into the topics, got to welcome in the nearly 100 people already here. I saw some new names in the chat. If you're new to the channel, I want to say welcome, of course, and I want to ask that you politely consider subscribing. We are on the hunt to 12K. We are at 11.2 right now, and it would be really awesome if you are new to consider subscribing, hitting the bell icon so you know when we go live. And this channel does 5 live shows per week, Monday through Friday, all different content, all different topics, all different panels. But before we get into the topics, let's welcome in someone that is joining us for the first time, officially, Crazy Lou Gaming, joining the fray. What's up, brother? How you feeling?
Oh man, I'm feeling really, really, really excited and happy to join you on this new awesome adventure, this new awesome show. And let's get rolling because, man, we got a lot to talk about. This weekend was really, really, really spicy, man. Woo!
Yeah, it absolutely was. Let me just give a shout out to Jacob Novik. He said that for some reason my camera is under a black thing. So let me just see what's going on with that and find out what's going on. But listen, let's continue, folks, because we are live, and I want to continue with the introductions, and we will try and make adjustments. Obviously, Ben Kenobi, who's doing all the artwork for the show now, he had delivered an incredible border, but it was a bit it needs a bit of an adjustment. So hopefully we will, of course. I see what you're talking about. I am under I don't see it, but you guys see it. So what we're gonna do is we're probably just going to just leave it as is. Obviously, you know who Mr. Boomstick is. I will make get the adjustment done, and we will take care of that for the next show. But listen, let's continue. Fuzzy Belvedere, welcome to the program, brother. How you feeling?
Oh, thank you for having me on here. Awesome to be here with you guys, and welcome aboard, Crazy Louie. Man,
Thanks, man.
It's so funny watching Sony, just I guess kind of squirm in their shoes right now. It just feels so weird watching this, but man, I can't wait to get into these topics. Let's do this.
Yeah, indeed. It is. It's I don't know what's actually happening. Oh, there we go. I did fix it. All right. Thanks for the shout out. I didn't know I had the border on still. For some reason, I didn't see it. But Jacob Novik, shout out to you, brother. It is fixed. You can see this big ugly head of yours, which of course is mine. But Web Dave, listen, brother. I didn't know we were going to have you here today because I know you had some issues over the weekend. But it is great to have you here, brother. We got a lot to get in you. How are you feeling?
I'm doing great. I feel just fine. Sister's a little under the weather, but she's pulling through. So we'll talk about that later. But other than that, everything else is good. There's not a new episode today, but I have, just to let everybody know, there's so many great interviews out there. There's almost 40 interviews available right now, man, including yours, Crazy Lou's. Fuzzies, and I got Dealer Gaming, Randall Thor, Colt Eastwood. it's just a list goes on and on. So don't hesitate to check out the one that you may have missed. But boom, I'm ready for lunch, man. Let's eat.
Yeah, and we're going to be eating good today, ladies and gentlemen. Speaking of Randall Thor 19, or Randall Pony, as he's known by many, he is going to be joining us on Wednesday evenings. New episode of Primetime Gaming as our special guest, where we're going to be breaking down the death of Stadia, who's actually responsible for it, and will that actually hurt Microsoft during the deal for ABK. And we're going to be talking about a bunch of other topics. I'm currently writing that show, but Randall Thor has confirmed his appearance, and I can't wait to get into those conversations. Yes, sir.
Boom. You mean
the man with $1 million?
Yeah, that is the one right there, the man with $1 million. But yeah, he's actually getting closer to 2 million, I would imagine, at this point, because he does complete a lot of games. But okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's rip off the Band-Aid. Let's get right into it. What is the story of the day? What is the story of the weekend? Well, the story of the weekend comes to us from our good friends over at videogameschronicle.com. It was written by Andy Robinson. Obviously, still not following me, Andy. I don't know what's up, man. I'm starting to take this personal. I'm just kidding. Take it easy. Listen, Video Games Chronicle, one of my favorite places to get gaming news daily. And Andy Robinson, who's the head honcho over there, him and his staff do a great job on keeping all of us, not only the gaming public, but the podcasting, gaming public, up to date with all of their incredible articles. And the lead title article that was posted on Sunday, on the 2nd of October, says this: a Horizon Zero Dawn remaster is in the works for the PlayStation 5, it's claimed. And sources claim an update of 2017's game is in active development along with a multiplayer spin-off. Now, they do go on to say that through their connections, this is good information. And this was originally posted by MP First, which VGC can corroborate via their own sources to be true. Now, here we go, folks. This is a monster problem. I don't understand how we got here. I don't understand how this PlayStation currently exists. This is you got to remember, folks, this is a PlayStation that dominated last gen on the PlayStation 4, where they literally outsold the Xbox 2-1. And in some places, like in Europe, where Jim Ryan was originally running the show, was upwards of 4 and 5-1 in some locations. Where we have gotten now is a PlayStation that is raking its players over the coals with these remasters. I mean, listen, if you want to give me a remaster of Resistance Fall of Man, you want to give me a Twisted Metal Black redone from the ground up, you want to give me Motor Storm redone in 120 frames per second and updated graphics, I'm all in to pay your $70 PlayStation. But what I cannot understand, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm having a very difficult time coming to terms with, is how there are people defending this horrible, bad behavior. Now, I'm going to read some quotes before I get to everyone, because it really does put a pin into the and popping this balloon for Sony and SIE. Tony Polanco. Now, Tony is someone that is, he has a check mark, so he is someone that the industry looks towards too for information. He's a bit, rough around the edges when he gets out there and he puts his opinion out there. He definitely has an I don't give an F type of attitude when he's out there putting his opinion. And you know what? You got to tip your cap to the guy. I mean, that's who he is. He writes this: You already know Sony will charge $70 for PlayStation for the PS5 Horizon Zero Dawn, and the fanboys will say it's justified. Now, I'm going to read a tweet that a lot of people started quote tweeting and potentially poking fun at. I will not give the person's name because we don't do that here on this program. We are protective of everyone's rights to have an opinion, even though this particular opinion, folks, I 1,000% disagree with. And I think this is the reason why Sony will continue to rake people over the coals. He says this. Is there a problem with that? Us PlayStation fans have no problem supporting Sony and their gaming endeavors. A Horizon Zero Dawn remaster is going to sell millions at $70. Heck, we'd pay $80. We just aren't interested in Game Pass fodder. Now, look, obviously, his colors are for Sony, and there's nothing wrong with that. Listen, like what you like. Love who you want to love, right? That's perfectly fine. But saying this out loud and publicly is foolhardy at best. Because when you say, I'll pay for a $70 remaster that I can get in a service that I pay for upwards of $18 a month or $120 a year, you are asking them to rake you over the coals. And then on top of that, to add insult to injury, he says he's willing to pay $80. How many times have I read that, folks? A boatload, and it's not good. But that's not the only comment we have here. As a matter of fact, I want to just bring up Randall Thor 19. He puts out a tweet that got exploded on the scene. He says, you know what? I think I'm just going to wait. I'm going to skip God of War Ragnarok and Spider-Man 2 and just wait for remakes. But he wasn't the only one poking fun at this. Paris Lilly, I think you know who that guy is. Very, very popular in the community. Smart dude. He says, why not just release Horizon Forbidden West expansion that has co-op and multiplayer and put it on console and PC? Well, Andy Robinson, who wrote this original report, says, I'm surprised The Last of Us 2 hasn't been re-released for PlayStation 5 by now, to be honest, especially with the HBO show around the corner. And Benji Sales, and we know who Benji is, good friend of this program, he says Bloodborne is just sitting there begging for a remake. And people have been asking that. And Special Nick from the Xbox Era podcast, friend of this community, friend of this show, he says, what I find so odd is that Horizon Zero Dawn, with the update it got for the PS5, already looks and runs fantastic. There just couldn't possibly be a less necessary remaster, which I guess means God of War is next. And folks, I mean, I don't even know where to begin with this ridiculousness. I don't know how anyone in their right mind would justify something as foolhardy as this. What this simply should say to you as a gamer is this is corporate greed at its absolute finest. I don't understand how there are groups, subset groups of people that think that this kind of anti-consumer behavior is not only okay, but justified because their favorite box makes really good games. Take nothing away for Horizon Zero Dawn. It's one of my favorite games. It's one of my favorite new IPs for PlayStation. I have defended that game time and time again. It was my game of the year, I believe, in 2017. It's just one of my favorite. I love Aloy as a character, but this is unjustified on a million levels. Crazy Lou, let's go to you first on this. Now, we have seen Sony make some boob-like moves in recent months, almost since this generation has started. And I know that there's going to be some people in the chat, and we're closing in on 300 people, so I want to say welcome to everyone. There's going to be some PlayStation folks in here, which of course are welcome, that are going to suggest that why are we picking on PlayStation? Why are we going out of our way to put PlayStation in a bad light? Folks, here's the thing. If Microsoft was doing anything even remotely close to this, rest assured, Double Barrel Gaming would put them on blast because they deserved it. Sony has done this time and time again We just saw all of the trouble that came the way of the Last of Us remake for $70. They're charging a full boat game, and they're giving you half a game when you talk about factions not being there. Now, factions may not be important to me because I didn't play that. I didn't care for it. I'm there for the single player experience, but the game is still missing. And it's still not coming out. It was promised. Factions 2 was promised a year before The Last of Us 2 came out, and we're still waiting for it, or not we, but people are still waiting for it, and it's going to be one of those games that does come out, and I can assure you it's going to be a $70 experience. And people are going to be like, yep, I'll pay for it. I love Factions. And if you are one of those gamers, awesome. No problems here. But Crazy Lou, this is egregious on every level. I want to get your opinion. Again, Horizon Zero Dawn, a game that came out 2017, we're only in 2022, is getting a PS5 remake, and it is expected that it's going to have some bells and whistles, like some graphical additions, some frame rate additions added to it, but it is expected by many to be a $70 game. What's wrong with this picture?
What I see wrong is why waste their time on that? I mean, I still don't get it because, okay, I know you guys are they're trying to bring a multiplayer in, and you should just only charge for the multiplayer. Say charge like what, $20-$30 or something like that. Charge something for that multiplayer, but just bringing back Horizon Zero Dawn and making a remaster. I was like, why? When you can get the team to work on something else, and we have talked about this for the past few weeks, right? We have talked about that. There's so much cool IPs they could be making instead of going back to this old stuff or focusing on the whole Call of Duty issue, which we'll be jumping on that later on. But yeah, they got so much stuff they can do, and they're focusing on this. I was like, why? Why waste time and effort on that when you got so much cool stuff on it? And as you said earlier, it seems like we're picking on PlayStation. We're not picking on PlayStation. We want PlayStation to do good because of PlayStation doing good. Look what Microsoft has been doing. They've been purchasing studios. They've been getting first-party games out, and they're doing a lot of cool stuff over there at Microsoft. And that's what we want PlayStation to do. And then these guys jump on this, on bringing remasters after remaster. How many remasters have we have so far this generation? We had
Sony, quite a few. I mean, you had Spider-Man 2018 that got a release where it was $70 for the Miles Morales, which I bought. I gladly bought because, again, I'm probably part of the problem here, but I bought it because it was coming out with the PlayStation 5, and like, well, I got to get this because I like buying launch stuff. We saw. I mean, we've seen Spider-Man 2018. I would imagine at some point they're gonna probably try and do this with Miles Morales before Spider-Man 2 actually launches. We just saw this, Lou, with The Last of Us 2. I mean, The Last of Us 1. And granted, it did look really good, but it was, the game wasn't changed at all. It literally is the same game with some new skins on it. I don't know if that was worth $70. I didn't buy it.
Oh no, I could agree more. I wouldn't buy it either. I mean, I would wait for the price drop for like $30 or $40 because that's what I think it's worth. And not only that, like you said, we got half a game. We didn't get factions on there. They should have put it with factions and everything. You would have been okay. Let me get it because I would love to try factions. But just giving you this game, man, seriously, I don't even know what the heck is going on over there. I keep telling myself each time, I was telling the guys the other day, I was like, everything seems kind of quiet. And then, like, all of a sudden, this news drops by. Like, I was like, oh, man, I don't really, I just keep scratching my head on all the mistakes Sony has been doing lately. Just bringing all this old stuff that is not really old. How old is it? 5 years old, is it?
Just around 2017. Yeah, so it's 5 years old.
5 years old. I mean, why don't you just do an upgrade like you've been doing with the director's cut, right? And just because that's another thing, we got director's cut, which we could put it on the remaster side of things, right? I mean, and just put the $10 upgrade for the Horizon Zero Dawn, right? And that's it. People will gladly pay it. And like I said, at the multiplayer, just charge $30 for it or $20, and people will gladly pay for that too. But just don't bring all this back and call it a remaster and charge $70 for everything. That is insane. That is crazy. Oh man, seriously. Instead of, like I said, working on another game or doing another IP, they just gotta bring stuff that is not even that old. I don't get it. Seriously.
It's disappointing.
Yeah, it
It
is.
also shows a weakness
Yep.
at leadership in Sony that we haven't seen before. It really, that's the one thing that if you want to talk about, and we're going to get into Jim Ryan and the weakness that not only is he showing uh, the gaming community, not only is he showing weakness to investors, but he is showing weakness to the industry that once heralded them as the dominant entity within gaming. And obviously we're going to break down, this is the same Jim Ryan that has done everything in his power to make PlayStation that dominant force that it was, right? And still continues to be. Let's call a spade. They are still the market leader. They
Yep.
are the number one in digital sales when it comes to making money. They're still number one, and they're probably going to be like that for a while. And Microsoft has found themselves to be, stuck in third place for almost a decade. Every now and again, they'll win an NPD, but for the most part, it has been Sony and Nintendo dominating the conversation, and Xbox not so much. And who's the blame? Well, Xbox is to blame a little bit for that because they did do some things with some leadership, that was in place that kind of set this pace forward. But they have done things since to change their overall outlook, and that's thanks to people being in charge that have us the gamers in putting us first before money.
I,
Listen,
I have a question though. Have you ever seen Jim Ryan play a game though?
I've seen no, he's not a gamer. He's a businessman. He is definitely not a
Okay.
gamer at all. He is not a Phil Spencer. Not even remotely close. Herman Holtz is a designer. I don't even think he plays games, to be honest with you. I don't know Herman that well, but it would appear that he just makes games and now he's just in charge of Sony PlayStation first party. I don't think he plays games either. So it's hard for I think it's hard for Sony to understand what they're doing is wrong because maybe they're not gamers. When you look at like Phil Spencer is a perfect example of that. The guy is the head of Microsoft Gaming, and yet he's playing Destiny with people from the community almost every night.
Yep.
Hard to compare apples to oranges, but before we move any we get to Fuzzy, I gotta thank a couple of people. First of all, Glacius EX, who's been a channel member for a month, has just gifted 5 double barrel gaming memberships. Dude, that is crazy awesome and generous of you. Thank you so much for that. That has now happened like 3 or 4 times, and I didn't even know that was a thing, to be honest with you. So that is really cool. Thank you very, very much. Jacob Novik drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "Look at Gears of War Ultimate, a remaster of Gears 1 with much better graphics, lighting, and included an extra level on PC, and the game was $30." Yep, that's and I did. It's funny you say that because there is some rumors that the coalition is working on an Unreal Engine update to Gears 1 through 3 in the Marcus Phoenix collection. And I saw some people, well, look, you see, you guys are making remakes. Well, here's the thing. One's a rumor. This is basically confirmed, and this has been a pattern that's going on with Sony. So I don't necessarily we can do a one-to-one comparison, but here's the difference, folks. If you want to fight, if you want to fight me on this, I say let's go. Okay, let's talk about it for a second. If the Gears or the Marcus Phoenix collection does come out, all right, let's say that's a thing. Let's say that is what they're working on. I will welcome it because you're talking about games on the Xbox 360, right? Versus games that are on a PlayStation 4 and updated to the PlayStation 5, and now you're getting a remaster. And here is the other big difference. One allows it to be in a service that you pay monthly. So I'm getting it for the price of download, right? Sony, even if you are a top tier member, ladies and gentlemen, is going to charge you $70 for this because they don't believe in day and date. And it's not so much that they don't believe as much as they can't afford to do day and date. I'm not taking, I mean, listen, they're $1 billion company. They're just not $1 trillion company. And right now, their company, SIE proper, is bleeding. They're bleeding out as we speak. And I'll bring up those numbers if you don't want to believe me. I saw it over the weekend. Someone posted it that they are down 41+% compared to this time last year in regards to the entire company. They have literally almost half the monies that they had a year ago. Now, granted, everyone is losing money everywhere. The market is not great, but Sony is bleeding out to the point where there might actually be room for concern that someone might, like an Apple or an Amazon or a Google, might actually get out there and buy them and actually set up which I'm going to be honest with you, I kind of hope they do for a selfish reason, because then Spider-Man's rights would revert directly back to Disney and Marvel, and they would own everybody. And they wouldn't have to make any marketing deals with Sony, and we would actually eventually get a Spider-Man on an Xbox. But that's a story for another day. Let me continue. Tom from Toonami not only is here. So, Tom, what's going on, brother? He drops $5 super chat and says, there is a reason Sony is being so quiet. It's because what they have to announce is not what the core fan base wants to hear. Remaster, games as a service, and PC ports. I don't think I could have said it any better myself, brother. I mean, that's really breaking it down. And you know something? You are correct. There is a reason why we didn't get a PlayStation show this year, that we're rumored not to get one in 2022. It's because they don't have anything ready to show. Now, listen, Spider-Man 2 is going to be a banger, and I'm going to be all in it when that game comes out. But past that, folks, and a couple of exclusives from Square, what do they have? The answer is not a lot. And I think that in itself is the inherent problem. This is not the same Sony that they were in the PlayStation 4 era. They're just not. Jacob Novick drops an additional $5 super chat and says, I would gladly buy, oh yes, and this I agree. I would gladly buy a Ratchet & Clank PS4 remaster and a Rift Apart PC port. That is my favorite franchise. Without RNC, my PS5 is collecting dust. Now, you see, those are two games that could get remastered and bundled, right? And if they charged, $40 or $50, I'm a platformer guy. I love Ratchet & Clank, and I would gladly drop the money on that. That wouldn't be a problem. And Brett Bingham has become a new channel member. Brett, welcome to the party, brother. Thank you so much for supporting Double Barrel Gaming. Mrs. Boom and I truly appreciate the generosity. But Fuzzy, let's get to you, dude. I mean, you have a lot to say on this. What are your thoughts when you read this? Because I actually thought it was fake. I thought it was total BS. I said, there's no way Sony would be that egregious. Well, folks, turns out this is true.
Okay, I'll preface this with someone that enjoyed Horizon Zero Dawn, although I preferred Forbidden West a bit more. I just thought this was like one of those fake made-up rumors and whatnot. And I first thought that came to mind, who asked for this? Like, it's already got a 60 frames update on the PS5. I already have played the update on the PS5. Who actually needed this? Like, was there a line of people saying, oh, you know what we want to spend more money on? We want to spend more money on something that you gave us an update to 60 frames on already. When I hear almost daily people requesting stuff for Bloodborne. Like, why doesn't that even have a 60 frames
Bloodborne
update?
is one of the most and highest requested reboots that people would, because listen, I only played a little bit of it, but a friend of the show, Joe, Mr. Badbit, who obviously runs the trophy room in it, and it's a fantastic, absolutely fantastic PlayStation site where they don't get into the minutia of the of the nonsense. They talk truth there. Him and Kyle, it's a great show. It's highly recommended. If you like PlayStation, you want an honest take, go check out the trophy room. He has been begging for a Bloodborne remake, and everyone else has. Again, who asked for this? That's a great question, Fuzzy.
Yeah, it just seems funny to me. Like, the game is less than 5 years old. We're already getting a remake. Now, to me, it would have made sense to bundle this, kind of like what they did with Spider-Man 2018 and Miles Morales. When Forbidden West came out, like, go ahead and sell the up-res version as a bundled deal. Or, here's a thought, because not to be spoilers, but there is an open enough ending at the end of Forbidden West that there is going to be a third one, more than likely. Why not just do a complete edition where you can sell the whole trilogy, this remaster? Probably there will be a director's cut of Forbidden West at some point, and I'm assuming they're going to call it like Horizon Nemesis. Just do the trilogy. Like, well, go ahead and sell the game for 70, and then like a couple of months later, sell the trilogy for 100, or whatever price Sony fans are willing to spend, because they're out here. Some of them are crazy enough to say spend $80 now when games are already high enough at 70. But in any event, I just thought this was fake news, and was waiting for more verification. And VGC reported it as well, so that was kind of like backing up what Wario64 said. And go on Reset, and I'm not the biggest poster on Reset. I lurk more so than I post. Because it's like, if you say anything bad about PlayStation, it's like they come out there with
come for you.
And
they come for you. Yeah, they do.
It's like, do you realize I have a PS5 and half of you guys don't even have a PS5 because you can't find one, and you're going to complain about somebody actually complaining about a problem with the PS5 type? That's a whole nother story. But anyway, it was funny looking at that thread. Over 70% of the people are like, who asked for this? Why? This has got to be fake news type of thing. And maybe it is fake news. I don't know. But I've been going ham on Twitter, just saying things like, well, I guess we now know why there wasn't, a showcase this year, because, they could just remaster the one from 2017.
Well, you know what? Just to add to your point. Okay. Again, I don't know who MP First is. Again, I'm savvy, but I don't know everyone, folks. Plus, when you do 5 shows a week, you're limited to where you put you dip your toe into. I like VGC, so I trust them. I also trust Andy Robinson, and it clearly says in this report from VGC that they did corroborate this with their own sources as it to be true. And what is supposed to come in this? What you want to know what is being added to Horizon Zero Dawn? This is what they had to say. It says that in this update is going to come in the form of new character models, new lighting and animations. It's claimed. In addition, it's also claimed that the new version of Zero Dawn will add accessibility features, graphic modes, and quality of life improvements to the gameplay itself. Now, here is where we kind of get a little messy, because according to VGC in this report, there is, and again, this comes the way of MP First, that Guerrilla Games is currently in active development of a multiplayer aspect, but the way that it is broken down here is that is going to be separate from this release. It says, in addition, MP First report claims that Guerrilla Games is currently working on a Horizon multiplayer game for the PlayStation 5 and PC, which matches what VGC reported last year. It says this: VGC understands that the studio has long intended to expand the Horizon series into the multiplayer space. Sources have previously told us that co-op was first planned of the original Horizon game, but was ultimately scrapped so the development team could focus on areas in the title. So again, what it sounds like to me and I could be 1,000% wrong here. Please throw your opinion in the chat, and I will try and read them all. It sounds like there is a team making this remake, and a team working on one of what could be one of those 12 games as a service. Now, if you're asking if this was Microsoft making this, it would be in Game Pass or it'd be free to play, like Halo Infinite is. If you're asking me, and because of what we're seeing now in front of us, expect this multiplayer mode to be $70, packed with all kinds of microtransactions. But please continue, Fuzzy.
Well, as far as that multiplayer aspect, like that, I'm actually looking forward to. Like anybody that's a fan of Monster Hunter, just imagine kind of like a co-op version or co-op PvE mode of Horizon, where it's like Monster Hunter. You're going out and you're hunting down basically the T-Rex version that's in the game, and that would be awesome. Or just do like the battleground stuff where you get the coins and whatnot in the game for anybody that plays Forbidden West. Have that as like a PvP arena. You know, those two things. If they didn't release them with Forbidden West, they should definitely work on that being as a games as a service type of thing. I think that would actually get enough, PlayStation cats that aren't really into multiplayer beyond like your 2K or Madden into an actual first party title as multiplayer. Because God knows all these PlayStation cats that talked about Returnal, I don't see any of them up there doing the co-op. I've been begging some of them to do like the Ghost of Tsushima, do the raids or any of those missions where it's co-op. Nope. They don't bother with multiplayer, but yet they want to badmouth, Xbox. Can I add something
to this? This is straight up dirty, folks. What I'm about to read to you is what I'm going to just imagine the biggest kick to the balls I've ever seen on social media. Shout out to Pong Soul, who hopefully is listening to this, because you're about to laugh your head off. Check this out, folks. In Exile, whoever it is that is running their social media hub is a mother effing genius. I'm not going to curse. I could have, but I like to try and keep this tight in PG-13. Listen to this. This is okay. If you're a fan of the NCW from way back in the days, now remember, I'm old, folks. You probably don't even know what the hell that was. There was a character. His name was Kabuki, and he always used to be able to. He threw salt in people's eyes. He did this thing where he shot like these strings out of his hands. He was awesome, but he was a devious MF. Well, this is a Kabuki attack live on the air, and I'm going to read it to you because this is what In Exile had to say. And oh my God, this is it's genius. It's wrong on 1,000 levels. In Exile Entertainment puts out this. Did you know Wasteland Remastered released 32 years after its original, and now it's available in Xbox Game Pass?
Damn.
I mean, savage. And you know something? Guerrilla Games and Sony have earned that slack. But please continue if you can after that.
Yeah, I saw that earlier. Savage. It's like you know exactly what that post was referred to. And it's like 32 years, that's plenty of time to, worry about doing a remaster. 5 years? Unless console generations were like cell phones where it's like 2 or 3 generations later, I can see it, but no, consoles don't work that way. And you already did the 60 frames update, which the game looked glorious on the PS4, and just playing that same version on the PS5 with 60 frames looks just as good, if not better. Maybe not as good as the latest one, but that's to be expected. Do you really need to have the first game and the second game look almost identical? And if so, why didn't they just bother doing this in time for Forbidden West? It just boggles my mind.
I will say this. There are some suggestions, Fuzzy, that this is being done on the heels of the show that is currently being made, and it is expected to release right before the show.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
You're serious, right? No.
So now it's like instead of we used to get movie licensed games, now we're going to get licensed game shows or licensed game movies or something, to the point where it's like, okay, let's hurry up and quickly throw this together type of deal. I don't know. I get it. Just this isn't the Sony that I adore. This is like some newfangled. Hey, let's keep on rehashing our oldies or our greatest hits until people are sick of it.
He said it.
Yeah, there's so many other, more deserving titles like Bloodborne. Obviously, you could go and look at the whole Resistance catalog. I mean, there are people actually asking for remasters for Killzone. There are people asking for remasters of, SOCOM. Like, seriously,
dude,
come on.
They have so many. Look, how about this? You want to you want to make money? How about you remaster the Sly Cooper trilogy, the collection, right? You want to charge $70? You're getting 3 games. How about going out and listen? I'm gonna tell you this right now. There are 2 games that jump off the page for me for PS3. Besides Uncharted 2, which is my favorite Uncharted of all time, right? Which has been done. It's been, they gave it it looks gorgeous, right? Mm-hmm. There are 2 games that we haven't seen come out yet. MotorStorm, which is one of the best racers you have ever. I'm gonna say this right now. It's the best racer you've never played. It is by far one of the best racers I've ever played. I absolutely love that game. Mm-hmm. But right there with it for me is Resistance: Fall of Man. Now, I didn't like 2 and 3 as much as I loved 1. I beat 1 a dozen times. I beat it yearly. That's how much I love that game. Why not give us an HD remaster of Resistance: Fall of Man? Why not?
Agreed.
That would make too much sense, it seems. Like somebody at Sony is just... they're asleep at the wheel. This isn't the creative Sony from the later part of the PS3 generation. Like, it just doesn't make sense. I don't. And I see, was it Tom from Tanami put in the $2 super chat? It's like Ghost of Tsushima remaster for the movie. Like, it's a little soon for a remaster. Like, that game still looks gorgeous from being like the end of PS4 era.
Dude, the PlayStation 4 version looks stunning.
Yeah,
there's no reason for a remaster.
I mean,
and the director's cut graphically, like, what was it? Digital Foundry was like, yeah, unless you zoom into the far corner of your screen, there's not really that much of a pixel difference. That's because the thing looked great from the beginning, so it didn't have to get. I don't know. This is Sony pulling a Stadia. I don't know. Well, no, I can't say pulling a Stadia. If they keep on doing this, they're going to wind up like Stadia, because at some point, their hardcore fan base is going to be like, I want something new, not rehash, remaster, remix, director's cut, whatever. Like, get on the program, get with the program, and just either make new IP stuff or sequels to existing IP. Like, where's announcement of Ghost of Tsushima 2? I know they've already poo-pooed the whole deal with, not Dead Rising. God, what is that thing called? The Days Gone. It's like, come on.
No, well, actually, someone in the chat actually said before we even went live was Days Gone is next.
Oh, dear.
I mean, honestly, like,
because I mean, can I say something real quick, guys?
Yeah,
sure, yeah.
I was reading a quote that Jim Ryan said 2 years ago. He said the PlayStation 5 is all about blockbusters. And I'm like, now I finally got it. He calls it the blockbuster console. He's making all these blockbuster games, like a TV series thing, grabbing the TV series and making it blockbuster with the game. Oh, dear Lord, it's insane. It's insane. I mean, I keep scratching my head. Why are they doing this? Wow.
Yeah, it's disappointing. It's disappointing because instead of offering new content, which is what they were known for in the PlayStation 4. I mean, listen, we're not going to sit here and BS. They curb stomp Microsoft in the PlayStation 4, Xbox One generation because of all the new IPs. Think about all the new IPs that hit that hit the PlayStation that were, quote unquote bangers, as the kids say, right? Banger after banger after banger. And again, granted, the PlayStation 4 kind of started out a little slow, 2015, 2016 had only a few, but 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, it was year after year after year after year of big time games. You can't deny what they were doing were keeping them the dominant platform. But what they're doing now is, in my opinion, egregious. But you know what? Before we get into Web Dave and we move on to the big topic of the show, I gotta catch up on super chats. My God, there's been so many of them. We got, let's see, Highlander 001, who's been a channel member for 5 months. Highlander, thank you so much for that, brother. He says, "Afternoon, Mr. Boom. Hope your mom is doing better." Thank you. I actually just came from visiting her earlier today. She didn't have a great day today, but when I left, she was feeling a lot better. So thank you so much for that. He says it's reported that Sony may not issue dividend checks this quarter because of the wow. Really, I didn't even know. Wow. You're talking about like the bonus checks? Yeah, they're bleeding money left and right. It's crazy if they don't do that, and that just goes to show you. And if you're wondering how come they haven't went out and bought Square or bought any other developers or publishers, it's because they literally just can't afford to do it right now. The market is not great for a lot of people. Like Microsoft has, announced this thing in January. Who's to say that they don't wait until next year until the market's better before they add someone else after ABK? We also have Sith Lord, who's been a channel member for 2 months. He says this after dropping a $5 super chat, and he says, if Apple buys Sony, they will claim to be the ultra premium $150 a game. If Google buys them, they will shut down in 5 years or less. Well, Google would kill them. I don't think Google wants to be a part of it. Apple. I mean, they don't even. Like, I'm not an Apple guy. I'm like an Android guy, but I know that they don't include like charging cables anymore or even headphones, right? So
that sounds like Sony.
that does kind of sound like Sony, to be honest with you. Drawn TJ drops not one but 2 super chats. First one of $5. He says, "Great panel, Boom. Listening at work. If I'm Microsoft, go get who they are working with, then go get CD Projekt Red and Capcom or Sega." Yeah, I think the next push for them is Japan. I don't know who it's going to be, whether it's going to be a single studio or I think it's going to be a publisher. I prefer Sega. I like Bandai Namco, but I think they're doing too well to be bought. Capcom, 2016 Capcom, their first party for Xbox. 2022 Capcom, and they're doing too good, folks. And you only sell if you are doing bad. And Capcom is making bank. I mean, it was reported last year in December that they were giving every employee at the company a 25% increase in their pay. And that's because of how well that they were doing. So I don't know if Capcom's a possibility, but you know what? I didn't know that Activision was a possibility either. Drawn TJ drops an additional $2 super chat and says Microsoft needs to be petty. Yeah, they I kind of agree there, but I don't think that they will because, well, they're the good guys. And you know what? You always want to root for the good guys. I think what they're doing in the sense of the over inherent value that we're getting, right? Like, I really think what they're doing is doing the right thing, but at the same time getting the same kind of result if they were petty. You know what I'm saying? Their pricing is so freaking good, it's hard to deny. So maybe that's their way of being petty, but being good. I don't know. You tell me. And Jacob Novik drops an additional $5 super chat and says it's claimed that the PlayStation VR 2.0 is $600. That's right. That also came out over the weekend, and BoomStick is not getting that. Or I'm already feeling a type of way because I have close to 30 games, 15 of which are physical, I can't use. And I can guarantee you Sony is going to try and sell me Beat Saber and Tetris and Batman and all the games I have on physical and digital. And I'm not doing it, because if it's $600 for just imagine you're coming into PlayStation for the first time, folks, and we're going to be talking about this at the end of the week. A $600 before tax and game PSVR unit probably gets you at like $7, and then you got to put in $550 for a PlayStation 5. Do you understand that in order to be a part of the PlayStation you have to spend nearly $1,300. $1,300 for a PlayStation 5 and one game and PlayStation VR. Yikes. I don't know how they're going to sell that to people, but I'm not getting the VR for $600. I'm going to tell you that right now. He says, okay, so he says it's claimed that the PlayStation VR 2.0 is $600, and if true, because of stuff like that, $100 in taxes here, it's let's just say $700 is a big no for me. Yeah, it's a big no for me as well. Web Dave, I'm interested to get your opinion on this. You've heard what the chat has to say. You've heard what myself, Fuzzy, and Crazy Lou Gaming had to say. What are your thoughts on the remaster of a game that's not even 5 years old?
You want to get to the rest of the super chats first? You got a bunch left.
Okay, you know what? Yeah, let me do that real quick. Rel in the chat drops a $2 super chat and says, "Sony don't nickel and dime. They take hands and feet." Yes, they do. Tom from Toonami drops an additional $2 super chat and says, "Ghost of Tsushima remaster for the movie." That's a given for sure. We also have Tom drops an additional $2 super chat and says, "Sony bet." Yeah, I listen. I don't know what they're doing. Brett Bingham drops a $5 super chat, and thank you for that, Brett. He says Jim Ryan out there acting like Phil Spender is Debo from Friday. Phil, get beat up like your father used to. Oh my God, I can't.
Priceless.
Danny Passion Official drops a $2 super chat and says, "Hello, panel. Black Panther 2 looks fire. Yes, I saw the trailer briefly. I need to watch it a couple more times to let it sink in. I'm a huge fan of Black Panther. I am a huge fan of Chadwick Boseman. I was personally devastated when I found out that he passed, and I don't know what they're gonna do. How they're gonna do. I know that Coogler is an amazing director. I don't know how you come back from this. Like honestly, like what you have to do to make that character no longer a part. It's going to be tough for them for sure. But thank you for that. We also have Highlander 001 who drops a $5 super chat and an additional $5 super chat. Says Sony stock is down around 46% since the Activision acquisition announcement. Microsoft, Nintendo are only down 20. Sony shareholders are not happy. Yeah, Sony, that's why Jim Ryan went to Brussels. I don't think it's going to matter because unless you can prove that this is going to somehow hurt competition, which it's not, we will break down what him going to Brussels means, and it's kind of weak sauce, folks. It just doesn't. It's just not a good look for Sony, not a good look for Jim Ryan. And if you are a shareholder, I don't know how you look at this and be like, yeah, I'm satisfied with this guy running the show because he looks like weak sauce in my opinion. But Dave,
Yep.
Let's get your opinion on this, brother. Remasters, we understand, are a thing, and for games that are old, for games that haven't been around in some of a decade, sometimes two, games that you remember that were really prevalent to you as a gamer. You wanna play a game like a Resistance Fall of Man or a Twisted Metal Black, or pick your favorite Sony game, your Sly Cooper collection. But I don't understand how someone in the boardroom said, yeah, let's remake or remaster a game that's 5 years old because a TV show was coming. I don't know, brother. What are your thoughts on this?
It is seems like the new Sony trend to do a lot of remakes. I think Randall Thor's tweet I guess over the weekend that maybe I shouldn't buy the new Ragnarok game coming out. I can just wait another 2 months until the remake comes out. I thought, well, that's priceless. So yeah, but I don't know. I mean, they obviously they think that there's a demand for it, or they can make a demand for it, and with some of the hardcore Sony fans, which there's a few in the chat today too, which is fine. All are welcome.
It's awesome. Everyone's welcome here, brother.
Exactly,
Everyone's welcome.
But I mean, to say that I want to pay $80 for this game because I support Sony. Well, okay, cool. Jim Ryan's got a special limited edition pony player butt plug he's going to be selling later on this year. Maybe you can get that and run around with a little ponytail hanging out. I don't know, but it just seems ridiculous that they would try and, there's so many other better franchises that they have that need a remaster, that need to be brought into the next gen, that is something that's, I mean, they've already made it updated. It's already in their service. I mean, if you have the PlayStation Plus, the original PlayStation 4 version is there included, and you also can get the upgrade for that to where it's basically PlayStation 5 level graphics. So I mean, it's a head scratcher, and but I guess they feel like this is what they need to do, or they feel like it's easy, quick money that they need to just cash in on. Because that's, to me, it really seems like a cash grab. Even with the bonus stuff that's going to be in there, I just can't see paying that kind of price for it. It just doesn't make really good sense when it comes down to, now if it was like a $30 for all that, sure, at this later date. But 70, no. And then somebody in chat was talking about the Bethesda, not Bethesda, but the game that came out for Bethesda, sorry, the Skyrim remastered is coming to Nintendo, and that it's going to be $70 with all its bonus Game of the Year content and stuff like that. But they're not publishing that.
That's from what we understand. And I actually
publishing.
had a couple of sources get back to me on that, and that has been confirmed. Microsoft or Bethesda is not self-publishing. Nintendo is publishing that game, and they decided on it being $70, not Microsoft. Just for complete clarification, by the way.
Just so we're all on the same page, instead of trying to throw that in our face, saying they're doing it. No, not really. So anyway, but yeah, that's what I got, man, on that, and let's get into the next subject. It's really going to be
well, you know what? This is one of those situations where we rip the Band-Aid right off, folks, because here we go. In a report, again, from our good friends over at VGC, it was written once again by Andy Robinson and posted on the 1st of October. We have confirmed information that PlayStation boss Jim Ryan flew to Brussels to voice his personal concerns to the EU, not the UK. Again, separately, because of Brexit, there's the UK, there's the EU, over the Xbox Activision deal. Sony has publicly stated its concerns over Call of Duty's future under Microsoft. Now, I'm going to read verbatim from the article because, of course, I want to give them all the credit because this is where I got it from. Andy Robinson writes this. According to Deal Reporter sources, and of course, they're saying that this site is paywalled, the Sony Interactive Entertainment CEO personally visited the EU headquarters on September 8th to voice his concern about the console's rival proposed $68.7 billion deal. And the article continues and says, it has been widely publicized in recent weeks, and we've been here for that, PlayStation's concerns over the deal around the future releases or the future release arrangements of Call of Duty series, which is regularly PlayStation's annual best seller, and whether it would be pulled from their platforms. Now, Google is also, folks, said to have voiced its concerns to the EU regulators, according to some sources. But we also have to take into account, and if you remember, the Brazilian documentation that was put out there for everyone to read when this first started making the rounds, where Jim Ryan was going around and crying like a baby about this. Because again, listen, you can't argue why he's doing this. He's doing this because it's his job to do this. He has to be there to defend his stockholders in Sony Interactive Entertainment. He needs to put up this fight. He's not going to lie quietly and lose the position, because obviously then people are going to start selling stock. Now, obviously, thanks to several people in this in the chat today, we know that Sony Interactive Entertainment, or SIE for short, is down 46% year over year compared to last year. That, folks, understand what we're talking about here. 46% down since the announcement of the Activision Blizzard King acquisition in January. That is massive. It is room for concern. There is reasons why Jim is out here making the rounds, because his stockholders are getting nervous. They're losing billions of dollars. They are almost half at what they were last year. That is a major problem. But according to the report, one of the quotes from Jim Ryan says, by giving Microsoft control over giving control of Activision games like Call of Duty, this deal would have major negative implications for gamers and the future of the gaming industry. And Jim Ryan continues, and you heard me talk about this before, we want to guarantee PlayStation gamers continue to have the highest quality gaming experience, and we appreciate the CMA's focus on protecting gamers. Now, folks, look. You know, when I approach these shows, right, I'm always doing the research. I work 7 days a week on these shows. I podcast 5 days a week, but on Saturdays and Sundays, there is a piece in the morning after, you know, a walk that me and Mrs. Boom take, and we go for our hike, or after breakfast, where I'm doing the week's show notes in advance. So I work 7 days a week on this. I don't normally get a break. And guess what, folks? I'm perfectly okay with it. But I added a little tidbit to this because it annoys me. Like Sony or Jim Ryan, who has been in first place for a decade, right? They've well over a decade, towards the end of the PlayStation 3 era, all the way through the PlayStation 4 era, and even today, the 2 years that are currently this generation, Sony's in first place. So for a decade, they have had their boot on Microsoft's neck. And in that time, ladies and gentlemen, specifically this generation, they're charging $70 for games. They're charging you a $10 upgrade fee for games from the PlayStation 4 to the PlayStation 5. They charge developers a cross-play tax. They charge that to publishers and developers. PlayStation Plus is $3 more expensive than Xbox Game Pass. Does not include day-and-date games. The PlayStation 5 has been increased by $50 for the first time in gaming console history. They raised the price, right? PlayStation 2.0, not backwards compatible, and also $600 in a recession. So could someone in the chat please explain to me who's the bad guy here? Is it Microsoft because they want to compete by buying Activision? Take it away, Crazy Lou.
They're not the bad guys. Why would they be the bad guys? I mean, they're grabbing a company that's been having a bunch of issues that needs to get solved, right? And it's gonna give all those developers peace, especially those games that they have been making, those Call of Duties that we all love and enjoy. And seriously, why are they the bad guys? Why? I mean, they're in fourth place. PlayStation has been on console sales, they've been number one since PS1, I think, right? They've been selling since PS1. They've been number one in sales in consoles. They already have their brand name made. And now, why is it so wrong that Microsoft wants to get into the competition? Why is it so wrong? And why do you have to fly over there, sit down with the regulators, discuss this, and trying to get them to stop this deal? And what I find funny is the excuses they've been making to trying to stop this deal. They've been saying, Microsoft is going to make the game a lesser quality. What? Why would they want that game to be lesser quality on their system? Why would they want to do that? That's just dumb. That's just a stupid excuse. Then you got Then you got that Phil Spencer said in a couple years, we're gonna give you 3 extra years behind the 3 year they have already to 2024, right? 3 extra years, right?
Yeah, to the end of the generation, which is expected at the end of 2027. Yes.
Spencer says yes. And why don't you just sit down and talk to them, see if we can continue to do it? No, they gotta say that they're only giving me a couple years, and there's no other studio that can make a game like that. What? I don't get their excuses in trying to stop that. I seriously don't get it. And why is that purpose to stop that deal? I don't get it. Why? You guys are afraid of competition? I hope they bring you competition, because seriously, what are you doing? Look what you're doing to us right now. I mean, I got my PS5 over there, and I'm actually been thinking and getting the ideas. Like, is it worth having it? Not only that, look at the whole tier thing. That the new tier thing that's coming up with the PlayStation Stars. Oh my God!
We're not going to specifically talk about it today because we don't have enough time. But it has been revealed through data mining, and VGC put this out there, that there's a 5th tier called the Diamond tier that you have to be. That's invite only.
Yeah, invite only. That's for that one. And not only that, if you pay more games, you're gonna get better customer support. I mean, seriously, what is wrong with you guys? What is wrong with you? What do you? Who is the one giving you these ideas?
Add that to the list of ridiculousness that I just read prior. Yeah.
Yes, it's insane. And instead of focusing right on what they can do, like we talked before, they can get old IPs back. We want Resistance back. We want SOCOM back really bad. We want what was Sly Cooper, which I have not played it, and I would love for them to bring it back so I can play it. And damn, you got so many options to bring back. And not only that, start putting your games in PC day 1 too, instead of hogging all that all that spotlight. Instead of hogging all those games, I mean, in just one console, just put it on PC so that way you can make that money and bring back what you guys want, instead of making all these stupid decisions and these stupid calls. And not only that, oh man, saying that Microsoft is the bad guy when they're trying to grab a company, which of course, if it was the other way around, everybody were like, applauding and like, yeah, go Sony, you got Activision Blizzard, and Microsoft,
And those games would be console exclusive.
Exactly. They will make it exclusive and not give it to Microsoft. They would do that. And seriously, each week that goes by, I call this the telenovela. You know what a telenovela is, Boom?
I absolutely do. I used to watch it with my abuela. So yes, I understand.
Yes, this is each and every single week a telenovela that I'm seeing, that all of a sudden, Jim flew over there. And now Google is joining this telenovela too. I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? It's insane. And all I have to say is just let the buy go through, sit down and negotiate with them. Seriously, and just be quiet and focus on your console, which right now is just, look at that start. It's just going down each and every single week. And instead of focusing and making it better, they're just making it worse and worse and worse. Each week we get bad news from their side. Seriously. Damn.
It's bad. It is bad. Real quick, I gotta thank shout out to Sir X-Man, who drops an outstanding $2 super chat and says, enjoying Proteus. Thanks for the heads up, Boom. Yeah, this game is gonna be my top 10 for game of the year. I'm so addicted to this game. I'm playing nothing but this game. I'm a huge old school Doom fan, Quake fan. This is so freaking good. Raiden Blade, who's been a member for 1 year, drops a £5 super chat and says, if Phil Harris views, not the views of Google, remember that this Phil is an ex-Sony, so buy as much. If Google themselves say it was okay with them in Brazil, yeah, actually they did. Google said they didn't have a problem with it before Google Stadia took a dump. Phil Harrison, he's a bit of an enigma. The story, as a matter of fact, I'm stealing that from VGC. They wrote a story on him, and they said Phil Harrison is an enigma. Everything he's done, touched, has failed. So why does he keep getting hired? You know what? I don't have any idea. We also have Drawn TJ drops a $5 super chat and says Microsoft should just buy Square Enix and make their games 5 months timed exclusives and say, hey, Jimmy, you want to play ball? Let's play ball. Yeah, you're not the only one that thinks that that's the next purchase in Japan. I mean, it could very well be, and that would be a mic drop moment. I don't think that. I don't personally want Square Enix. That's not who I want. But
Can I say something,
Sure.
John? For that, I would tell them to get From Software, because right now they're neck to neck with Tencent trying to get it. So yeah, I would probably get From Software just to,
From Software, that would be dope. That would be a big one. We
They're
also
neck to
have
neck. Tencent and Sony are neck to neck on buying
Yeah.
it. So if Microsoft grabs it, oh man.
that would definitely be something.
Yep.
Gamer by Choice drops who's been a channel member for 2 years, dude. Thank you so much for that. He drops a $5 super chat and says, I think Sony is afraid that Xbox will use ABK to try and put them out of business, just like Sony would do if they were in that position. Indeed, Sony would definitely go for the juggler. And Raiden Blade, who's been a member for 1 year, thank you so much for that. Raiden Blade drops a £2 super chat and says, every time Jim opens his mouth, Sony shares drop. That's actually very true. Fuzzy, let's get your opinion on this. What are your thoughts of him going to Brussels to levy his complaints on the ABK deal?
Man, it almost feels like the higher ups at Sony Corp are on his butt as far as, hey, go over there and make sure you can try and stall him, block the deal, whatever you got to do. Like we joke about him being crying line Jim dance moves, like Ryan, but yeah, he's on the chain right now, and I think the higher ups are basically telling him, everywhere you need to go, you need to be on that next flight out to go ahead and make sure that either Microsoft doesn't get Call of Duty forever or something. And maybe that's part of the reason why they're having all the other issues that they're having, where it seems like the whole PlayStation Stars thing is kind of a fixed type of deal, or some of the bad publicity that they're getting with the no back compat on PSVR. When you got the CEO for the gaming division running around chasing his tail as far as trying to block this deal, I guess there's no time left to plan out other games or things along those lines, or seal the deal on some other acquisitions that they probably should make. But I just got a kick out of it in the sense that they're really trying their best in the public's plain view to stop this deal. All the while, behind closed doors, they put certain words or items in like contracts where it's like, oh, don't you dare put that on Game Pass, or if you're going to put it on Game Pass over there, you need to make sure that we have it on PS Plus that same day, or you can't let them have like a better graphical version of that game. You better make it as far as like online or visible parity and whatnot. So yeah, man, it's one of many odd moves that Sony's making. But Jim, being the businessman that he is, he's if the CEO of Sony or the board members of Sony are like, hey, get on that flight, he's going to do it. And I don't think he has much choice otherwise, because I think probably the last guy that gave them lip or whatever, Layden, is now over at Tencent. So we know how he got ushered out the door at the end of the PS4 generation. So it's funny and sad at the same time, but he's got to do what he's got to do to keep his job and keep the board members happy. Although I can't imagine them being happy. Like we were talking about the whole stock value and market cap. Their market cap is lower than what they were in 2019. Like that should be a sign of not just the economy and whatnot, but that should be a sign that that's
a sign that leadership made mistakes.
Yeah. So it's it's definitely time for them to look internally and figure what they got to do to get back on track moving forward. Like currently they're doing good, and they're going to continue to do good for probably the next year or so, but I'm starting to worry about them overall. Like
I want them to get back to
creative.
They're going to get acquired.
Yeah,
I'm with you there. I think that they are on a downward spiral slide. And I think ultimately they're going to be acquired. I think Apple is going to want to be the one to step in. It wouldn't surprise me in the least. Apple is a $1 trillion company, neck and neck with Microsoft. They could give Sony the shot in the arm that they need for development dollars. And right now, Sony is bleeding out. Now, real quick, I do want to give him a shout out because he's here. He's a Sony guy, and of course, we appreciate you being here. Counter-Strike in the chat. He says, "You mean competition? Wasn't buying 23 studios in 2018? You mean buying a publisher that accounts for 27% of the console market's annual revenue stream? 21% of that, courtesy of PlayStation, is." Look, dude. Here's the thing. I see that you're upset by this, and you know what? This all I can say is that if the shoe was on the other foot, gamers like yourself and many in this community would be applauding, Sony for pulling off one of the biggest moves in the company's history. They are just not built like Microsoft. That's not an insult. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. Sony has had their boot on Microsoft's neck for over a decade. Just understand that. Over a decade, Sony has ruled the roost. And now Microsoft, well, specifically Phil Spencer, has figured out a way where he got Satya Nadella to invest heavily in the brand. And now Xbox is as important to Microsoft as Windows is. And you yourself have to admit there was this call to arms. Let there be competition. Why isn't Microsoft competing? I want Microsoft to compete. How many people said that? And now they're competing in a way that's too stout for you. Like it's too much for you. I don't understand it. But listen, let's get Web Dave into here. But before I do, I want to catch up on a few super chats that popped in. Jacob Novik drops an additional and very generous $5 super chat, and he says bad in capitals. So Jim meant that MS is bad, like only like that only because they may try to put Call of Duty on Xbox only, even if Microsoft ain't allowed to they straight up worst case ever. I mean, I don't know how they're the bad guys here because they're trying to make people join their service, which is the most valuable service in gaming right now. You know, it is what it is. Game Pass is legit the best service for your more bang for your buck. We also have Rel in the chat, drops an additional $2 super chat and says Sony losing people because of price increases. Indeed, 100%. Value proposition in a recession is key to retaining your customers, and Sony is just not offering their customers the better value. That's just the bottom line. Dave,
Yep.
Let's get your opinion on this, brother. I'm interested to hear what you have to say regarding Jim Ryan flying out to Brussels, and like I said, that's a story in itself. He's not sending an email. He's not doing a conference call. He's legit going to their headquarters to sit down with regulators to push this case that this is bad for PlayStation, but at the same time imply that it's bad for gamers, meaning us, meaning Xbox gamers and PC gamers and Nintendo gamers. Look, I have to put this out there before you even go, Dave. You know, we keep hearing that Sony is going to die without Call of Duty, right? Well, I don't know. Right now, Nintendo Switch doesn't have Call of Duty. And it's because they couldn't run Call of Duty. The last Call of Duty that was actually on a Nintendo system, if I recall correctly, was Call of Duty during the Wii U days, where it was a super scaled down version, right? What did Nintendo do? Nintendo went out and made their own shooter in the form of Splatoon, which by the way, is making bank. It's one of the best-selling games in the franchise. They have taken MPDs by storm, and that's because they created their own shooter. Sony has Bungie. Bungie is one of the best first-person shooter makers in the business. They created Halo, for crying out loud. They could make a killer app. But you know what that takes? That takes time. And Sony seems to be out of it. What are your thoughts on Jim Ryan flying out to Brussels?
Well, like we said at the beginning, Jim and crazily thinks that I understand you said that, why is he doing it? I mean, he's doing it because he needs to. He has to show face. 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 He for his shareholders, he has to show the diehard Sony players, the stockholders, everybody that's looking at him to be a leader, that he's going to go and he's going to make the case. Now, is it pointless? Maybe, but it has to be done. If he didn't do anything, if he just sat back and let everything fall, I mean, he'd be gone. They'd be like, pew, he would be out of there. So, as desperate as it seems to some of us, it is a have to on his part. There's no way he could just let this lie. Now, the thing that they're wanting to get is they want to get it to where they can have they talked about having a game parity. They talked about having they want to continue to have the franchise available to them. Microsoft has said that they will do that after the contract is up. Microsoft does not have to renew the contract word for word. In other words,
correct.
It does not have to be them having exclusive first, them having to keep it on the level of parity. He may be trying to get that into a consent decree. That's what he's probably hoping for, is that he can try and keep those kind of things alive. Probably the biggest thing that Sony wants to do in a consent decree, and this is just my opinion, is that they're probably going to want to try and get it to where they can't bring it, the new Call of Duties, or at least for like a limited time, like a year or whatever, into Game Pass right away, because Sony knows that will absolutely kill them in the long run. If you can get the biggest game for just the price of Game Pass, then
and
that's when
they go and sue, because how dare Sony even suggest how Microsoft, and this is what annoys me, folks.
Yep.
How dare Sony dictate terms for a $70 billion deal that they're not investing in? They're not investing any money into this whatsoever, but yet they're going to dictate to regulators how a decree needs to not put this in the Game Pass. Listen, I'm sorry that your service is $18 a month and not offering day-and-day games, where Microsoft this fall is going to offer it for as low as $5 a month, up to 5 people in one service for $25. Think about that for a second, folks. Sony is charging you $18 for old games, which Jim Ryan himself said that they don't play. Microsoft is going to charge you $25 between 5 people, and you're not sharing perks. You're not saying, hey, Jimmy, I can't get on today. I'm going to play tomorrow. You play today. No, everyone is going to get Xbox Ultimate that gives you access to the cloud. It gives you the ability to play on your phone, your computer, you name it, as well as your console, day and date games for $5 a month, folks. That's Sony's problem, not Microsoft's. But please continue.
Well, and also that well, to say that they are, that they're going to try and fight it. That's what they want to do. Microsoft is going to probably, like you said, would probably bring a lawsuit at that point if they didn't feel like it. Now it depends. They may, because they can actually come at them and say, we would like you to do this, and Microsoft says, well, we can't do that much, but we can do this, and they may just to appease some things here and there, because in the long run, it's going to be their game, it's going to be their company, and they can do with it what they want. But they do want to make the money that Sony, if it's sold on Sony, that's still income for Microsoft. So I mean, and somebody else was saying, why spend this much money trying to get the deal done when they could just go out and buy, exclusive rights in their own to all these other companies. And true, they could, but you got to think that this $70 billion that they're going to spend on this is not all the money they have. They have, after this deal, over $90 billion cash on hand to spend on more acquisitions and or things for Game Pass. It is not allocated to anything else.
Yep.
But but to Microsoft's Xbox division for them to acquire more leverage in the gaming community. So I don't think you have anything to worry about. Sony doesn't have the money right now to do it. The shares are going down. They are still a big company. Could another company come in and buy Sony? They sure could. Like you said, Apple could come in and buy them. A lot of other, maybe that's why Stadia shut down. maybe they're gonna make the play
That's a good
for
point, dude.
for Sony. And
Yep.
but the one thing that is true, you kind of mentioned that too, Boom. That if that does happen, if Sony gets sold at all, it'll have to go as a whole company. They won't split off gaming from their television. And all that.
No. That would be it would be SIE proper. Yeah.
Right. And if that happens, if Sony gets purchased, then it immediately negates the deal with with Marvel. That is clear in the contract. That is the only way that Marvel gets Spider-Man back, and unless the game doesn't, or unless there isn't a game or movie made within a 10-year period, then they also have the option to acquire it back. But of course, Sony's not going to do that. They're going to continue to make those either movies or games or whatever they need to continue to hold the rights. But if that sells at all, if the company sells, those rights go back. So that's not a leverage for Sony to be sold to anybody, because those don't go with them. So that said, it's I think the deal, no matter what we might have in the chat, this deal is not going to get stopped. This deal is going to go
It's
through.
not.
It's going to maybe take a little longer here and there, but it's to be expected because of the large amount it is. But they'd have no case against Microsoft.
There's no way for them to prove that this is anti-competitive in any way. When you look at Tencent and you look at Saudi Arabia, who we're going to be talking about on Thursday, I'm going to be sitting down one-on-one with Steel Rain from Living Split Screen. We're going to be talking about all of the investments going on in the world that are much just as big as Microsoft. I mean, Tencent, they just said publicly that they're going to be more aggressive. They want to add more. They want to own more of companies than just small vested interests. They want to actually own people.
I want to say one more thing.
Sure, please. Go ahead, Dave.
To Counter-Strike's point, which he said they are not going to be able to do exactly what they want. This deal is almost as crucial in the respective business as NVIDIA acquisition of ARMS. It is absolutely nothing like that at all. There's a difference between the chip maker and being the only one that making a certain type of chip, and then being a game company that when there's multiple platforms, multiple different venues, and multiple places, and multiple different levels of gaming. I'm sorry, dude, but your argument on that point is wrong. Yeah. There is absolutely a way that Microsoft can get this deal done and get it done their way. If you want an exception to that, then look at when the MGM deal was going to go through, and the MGM archives with all their Amazon buying up their MGM property. And they said now the deal couldn't go through. And so they said, okay, cool, we're going to sue. The next day, okay, you know what? We don't really have the money to take you to court, so we'll let the deal go through.
Here's something
happen.
Yeah, and here's something else. Here's more food for thought, Dave. And first of all, absolutely fantastic, knock it out of the park points. To your point, to add this to this conversation, here's the problem, Counter-Strike. Right now in the EU and the UK, though that region of the world has seen a damn near 20% inflation, right? I saw a post where people were actually posting, I don't know how I'm going to heat my home. And in the next post, I don't know where I'm going to live this winter, right? Are you telling me that the EU and the UK are going to waste millions of taxpayer pounds for a deal that ultimately is not breaking any laws? You got to understand the whole point of this deal is for competition. Sony is number one. Microsoft is number four. They have been in third place of the big three for a decade. So I don't understand how this is anti-competitive. You know what's anti-competitive? All the things I read off that Sony has done in the last 24 months. All of those egregious anti-consumer, anti-gaming practices are only 24 months old. And that's just this generation. And I understand Sony's a business. They're in to make money. We all know that. But Sony is raking their players over a freaking coals. And to suggest otherwise is just lying. It's just straight up lying. You cannot defend the business practices of the way Sony has conducted themselves. It is unacceptable on 150,000 levels. And you know something? If you want to pay those prices, that's good on you, brother. But I am not. Just like I didn't buy The Last of Us. When Last of Us remake is $30 for Black Friday, rest assured that I will be buying it.
There you
Until then, I'm not spending $70 on a game that I own twice, that I still currently own. So
Hey,
listen.
And did you notice that the Sony, like I think I sent you that clip, and it's on their webpage. You know, they're taking full advantage of that. They now have Call of Duty available on their. They are making an.
They have a bundle. They have a bundle out right now that you can get directly from PlayStation proper, and they are taking advantage of the marketing rights as they absolutely should. Correct.
So there you go. That's all I had. Sorry.
No, Dave. I mean, everyone has knocked it out of the park. We crossed a new record for this new show.
Ooh.
We had 525 people in the chat. That tops out the numbers. This show's only a couple of weeks old. I want to thank everyone that is here, everyone that ran through. I also, of course, want to thank everyone that has dropped super chats. I gotta catch up. There's been a couple of big bombs out there. We have, let's see.
Gamer by Choice.
Okay, Gamer by Choice drops an additional $5 super chat and says, I don't understand the hate. Xbox could outbid Sony on every exclusive deal, or they could buy publishers, which one do people want? Great show. Thank you so much for that, brother, and thank you for the generosity. Raiden Blade, who drops an additional £2 super chat and says, if I was Microsoft, I would discontinue Call of Duty. What then? Well, here's something interesting to that point. Infinity Ward is working on a space first-person shooter that's a new IP. And who's the other one? Treyarch is working on a new first-person shooter that's a new IP that's not Call of Duty. I think that they're going to slow down Call of Duty, keep Warzone going, some Call of Duty proper, slow that down to every 2 years, and come up with new IPs. And at that point, then Sony's just going to have to eat it. But Dragon Heart Yobi, good friend of the program, great friend of the community, he drops a $20 super chat and says, since day one, they still overlook Xbox. They ignore Nintendo and praise the hell out of Sony. Xbox been laughed at since day one, even by Bill Gates. Now Xbox is fighting. When the other side screws up, it's crickets. Xbox is staying. Indeed. Well said, my brother. Raiden Blade drops an additional £2 super chat and says, what people are forgetting that the ABK approached Microsoft. Indeed, they did, because they're one of the biggest companies with that much cash on hand. And Drawn TJ drops a very generous additional $20 super chat and says, hey, Counter-Strike, you mad, bro? Let's keep that same energy. Sony has bought every studio they have. Remember, they helped Nintendo put Sega out of the console business. Yeah, Sony has done a lot for their consumers, but they also have done a lot of anti-consumer behavior, and I talked about that. Just go listen to the early part of the show. I give a detailed list of what Sony has done in only the 24 months, and it's egregious on every level. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be your special edition. Well, it's no longer a special edition. It's actually the Xbox Lunch Break Special. Hopefully you enjoyed the heck out of it. Thank you so much for the 525 plus people. Let's get to the outros. Crazy Lou, sell your brand, brother. Talk about Xbox International. Who's on that panel? Where they can check that out, and what else you got going on.
Oh man, happy to be here with you, man, and happy to be part of the what's it called? Oh,
it is called the Xbox Lunch Break Special.
Yes, the Xbox Lunch Break Special. Thank you so much, Boom, for putting me as part of the panel members. Really, I really highly appreciate it, man. And where can you guys find me? At the Crazy Louie Gaming YouTube channel over there, Xbox International at 7 p.m. ET, with me, Silent Cypher, and Sour Blow, talking about each and every single week of what happens in the gaming world. And also, you can find me on Twitter saying good morning and doing all sort of crazy stuff at the Crazy Louie Gaming Twitter. That's where you can find me, man. Really. Appreciate it, Boo, to be here hanging out with you guys. Had a lot of fun.
Well, it's great to have you a part of the show, brother. It's great to have you a part of the panel permanently. Love what you guys do in the community. Love what you do over at Xbox International. All of his information is there. Go sub their channel. Go check them out. Add it to your weekly playlist. And let's talk Fuzzy Belvedere, brother. Sell your brand. Talk about your YouTube channel dedicated to racing, but also highly regarded opinions on gaming. Occasionally, you get in your feelings. You got to put it out there for everyone to hear, and it's always really good stuff. Talk about that. Where can people find you on other podcasts, and more importantly, reach out to you on social media?
Well, just want to thank you for having me on here. It's awesome being here with you guys on Mondays for the lunch break special. Man, just so awesome to get to talk about some of the upcoming news and things like that as far as in the gaming space. So anybody that wants to hear my endless ramblings on anything gaming related, just follow me on Twitter at Fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also find my YouTube under the same listing, Fuzzy_Belvedere. Mainly focus on racing games, whether it be Forza or Gran Turismo. And as far as for other places you can find me later on tonight on Fun Speculations channel for FSP podcasts at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Fun Speculations channel. You can also find me on Friday mornings, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Double Barrel Gaming for Breakfast with Boom. And then later that evening, you can find me on Fun Speculations channel on the Xbox Ultimate Podcast at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then on Saturdays on the Shop Podcast on PTK Blam's channel at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Man, so much fun doing this stuff. I love it.
This was a good show. And we only hit two topics, folks. An hour and 30 minutes, 90 minutes of your best Xbox on Monday. Start your week off. Double Barrel Gaming has you covered 5 days a week. Monday through Friday, we're streaming live. All different panels, all different topics, never the same regurgitated stuff. And we are happy that you have made the show a hit, and I cannot thank you enough. But Dave, let's talk about your channel. You don't have an interview this Monday, but you got over 40 of them, some of game's biggest people, including everyone on this panel.
That's right.
Talk about it. Where can people reach out to you on social media, but more importantly, support you on not only YouTube, but all of the RSS feeds that have these incredible interviews?
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that, man. Love being here. Thank you so much for having me on. It is an honor and a privilege to be here with this great panel. And Crazy Lou, what's the name of the show again?
That would be the Xbox Lunch Break Special. It's a bit of a mouthful.
I love you, man.
Yes.
I'm just playing.
Man, I was like, what?
You know what? The excitement, it's a new show.
I love it.
I know. I'm just playing, buddy. I'm just playing. I tell you, one more quick before I throw my business out there. Quick shout out to Fuzzy Belvedere. I don't know if you guys realize just how many shows that he is on.
Oh, he's ridiculous.
I've always wanted to ask him though. Is he on more shows than Pond though?
No, not yet. Nowhere near.
But you know what? But you know what? If you want a really good, you want really good knowledge. Fuzzy has some really good opinions, and he is right there with it, man. So Fuzzy, man, we love you, buddy. And I mean that, dude. You are awesome. And the interview with Fuzzy is on there, as well as, oh my gosh, I've got so many good ones. The latest one is the One Bad Mother, but I've got Dealer Gaming, Randall Thor 19, Colt Eastwood, Mr. Boomstick, Mav, Pong Soul. I mean, Joanna Dark, The Mag, Crispy Bomb. I mean, oh my gosh, let's see. Ashen Luca, she was amazing. Gaming Forte, Doom Cutie, King David. Fonts Gaming. Oh my gosh, man.
Yeah, you definitely got to check out his stuff.
Hargeet,
really
Johnny,
good.
Gaz. Hello. Crazy. That's all I can say, man. It's just, and you know what? That's not even half of what I've got available. So anyway, that's all I got to say, man. And we know we got to get out of here. Guys, thank you so much. See you next. Well, gosh, we'll be here Friday for sure. But tomorrow night, Boom's got another great show. Boom, tell them about it.
Well, yeah, we tomorrow is obviously the Xbox Factor podcast, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have Wednesdays primetime gaming where Randall Thor, the man with a million, or Randall Pony, according to Jez Corden, is going to be joining us to talk about who actually who killed Stadia. Was it Microsoft or was it some bad business practices from Google themselves? Well, there is something called the Google Graveyard, which breaks down everything that they have killed, and they never finish. And their ideology of charging you monthly for the service, but making you buy games is why they fail. Plus, we're going to break down some more of the hottest gaming news. Thursday, I'll be sitting down, of course, one-on-one with Steel Rain to talk about a bunch of big topics. And Friday morning, I'm working on right now, and I think it's going to go something like, is Jim Ryan killing PlayStation? I kind of think he is, especially if he continues these bad moves and these remakes. I think that he's really he's burying the brand. I don't know who's to blame for this, but it could very well be could be Sony proper in Japan. You know, they have a very old way of doing things, and that old way is not the good way, obviously, because their stock continues to tumble. We'll be talking, we'll have live shows for you all week. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for again being here. Yeah, you want to add something, Lou?
Yeah, I was gonna say something real quick. The Chivalry 2 is heading to Xbox Game Pass tomorrow, just to announce that real fast.
Which was that?
Is it Chivalry or Cavalry? Chivarly.
Calvary.
Cavalry 2 is heading to Game Pass tomorrow. Yep. Just to announce that real fast.
Well, again, Game Pass is going to be killing it. October is just ridiculous for Game Pass.
Yes, it is.
I can't wait to get into what obviously it's led by the Rat game. Oh my God, why am I drawing a blank? It's very Sony.
Yep, A Plague's Tale.
A Plague's Tale 2, which Requiem looks freaking phenomenal. They have Scorn looks really gross and good. That's about 8-hour experience. I can't wait to play that. And Persona 5 finally on an Xbox. People are gonna dig that. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much again for being here. A big shout out to all the super chats that came in. Obviously, we use those for all the big giveaways, and of course, I cannot thank enough. So many new channel members. People keep donating channel memberships. I didn't even know that was a thing. So a big shout out to everyone that has done that. And of course, I don't have an outro. I'm going to be working on I think I'm going to reach out to Sean Labrie and see if he can do one for this show. But I do want to say a big thank you to everyone. And I want to say we will see you tomorrow on the newest episode of course, the Xbox Factor podcast. That's at noon. Take care, everyone. And thank you so much again.